Hi there, my name is Glenn, and I'm going to give you a summary, a brief review of my experience with Lasik MD in Halifax, Nova Scotia. I am now 2 days post intraocular lens replacement surgery, and I can tell you that the experience has been interesting, positive, and I think it's going to be very life changing for me. My backstory is very simple. I was blessed my entire life with very, very good vision, better than average, better than anyone in my family, and better than most of my friends. And then when my 40s hit, I still didn't need glasses. I could see everything very clearly up close. I could see it at further distances. I've literally had the vision of an eagle, even through my early 40s. And then at the age of 45, it wasn't my birthday, but there was a day that I woke up and everything was blurry. Everything up close started to get blurry. And it happened like that. I didn't notice it, didn't notice it, didn't notice it. And then all of a sudden I noticed it. In the 2.5 years since then, going on 3 years, I'll be 48 in just a little while, I have had three prescriptions, three pairs of glasses, spent over $3,000 on prescriptions and glasses. I've been diagnosed as having presbyopia. I think I said that right, I'm not sure. And that basically means that my lens has lost its flexibility as I've gotten older. And it's something that most people, a vast majority of people in their 40s encounter and have happened. So I've had, like I said, several pairs of glasses. I still have these readers. I've actually given my glasses frames to my brother at this point, 2 days after the surgery, because I'm convinced that I'm never going to need glasses again. Now, I'll tell you that the LASIK MD experience is good. It's positive. It's easy. I made an appointment online, went in and had some very extensive testing done to make sure that I was a good candidate for this. There's even a psychological test they do to make sure that you're going to be okay with the very few limits that the surgery gives you, remain after you get the surgery. The reason for it for me is as you can see in the back, I like to golf, I play hockey, I ref hockey, and I was getting to the point where my vision had deteriorated so much that I was going to need to start to wear glasses to do any of this stuff. I already wore them when I golfed. And I don't want to have to wear glasses under a helmet. I don't want to have to go to contacts because I had three different fields of vision, so contacts weren't an option for me. And as an official, you need to be able to see deep into the play, and that had already started to, and anyone that watched me officiate, I promised I could see. The only thing I couldn't as an official is at the end of the game when you review the timesheet, I couldn't read it. I couldn't see to sign. I didn't know where to put my name, so I'd always have my partners sign my name for me. So anyway, point being, LASIK MD did my initial intake. The intake took about 3 hours, and it's when they review your case and review you and make sure that you are psychologically sound and physically and sound to be able to have this surgery. And then at the time they go over the cost, they go over the benefits, they go over the risks, they go over everything with you in this initial appointment. It really is a great way to determine whether or not you want to go forward with this. Now, for me, my entire life, I've always been just one of the things that I'm not afraid of, but I just hated having to get eye drops. And the one thing for me, the hardest thing for me, is that 3 days prior to the surgery, and now for the next 4 weeks, I have to take eye drops 4 times a day, and I still don't like it, but I'm getting used to it. And that's been, looking back at everything, this is the worst part of the surgery. So after you have your initial consult, they will tell you if you're a good candidate. They will tell you, what the cost is. They'll go over the benefits. They'll go over the risks and the limits that this type of surgery will leave on you. And I'll go over them in a little while. But overall, fantastic experience with Lasik MD. Um, if you like cookies, I don't particularly eat cookies myself, but they have big jars of cookies. And by the looks of some of the people that were in there just scarfing them down, they must be very tasty as well. So those are there for you in the waiting room, and you get to see several professionals, um, optometrist, surgery assistant. You see a payment specialist. They take you through every step of the way in this initial appointment. And then you either make an appointment or you don't at the end of this consult. And if you don't, I'm sure that there's a follow-up process, and they'll try to get you in an appointment if they think you're a good candidate. And if not, you go. And there's no cost for that initial consult. It is 100% free. You have to put in the time. And for me, it was an hour drive into the city. And beyond that, it was just kind of going through all this testing. And when I determined that I wanted to go through it, they did a little bit of additional testing. They dilate my pupils, they check the pressure of your eyeball to make sure that it's healthy, and then they put you on the schedule. And then, like I said, you get a prescription. They call you several times between the time you make your appointment and the time you go in. And you have just ongoing communication so that everything continues to move forward, and you get a wealth of knowledge. You go pick up your eye drops at your pharmacy, and you start to put them in, and then you go in for your appointment. Now, I slept great the night before my appointment, and I have anxiety about stuff in my eyes. Like, I'm a very easygoing person, and I don't really struggle with anxiety, but I did have a tinge of anxiety the morning after I got up. My appointment was at 12:30, so for me, those hours between waking up and the actual appointment was the worst part of the entire experience for me, because the anxiety slowly built up a little bit. When you go in, they do offer you a Xanax, and if you want to have a Xanax, apparently I've never had one in my life that I know of. Some of the bars I went to when I was a kid, you never know. But apparently they will give you a Xanax and will help you relax, and then they take you in, they do they take your payment, they shuffle you through in the waiting room, and then you go into your surgery prep. And the experience in the surgery room is interesting. My surgeon met with me, went over the benefits, went over the limiting parts of things that I may experience, and they really take this to the deepest level they can. And they're doing it to protect themselves, and they're doing it so that you go into this final opportunity to make this decision or change your mind about this with all the information. I felt very well informed and empowered by that information through this process. The surgeon talked to me, went over my answers, went over all of, like I said, the good, the bad, the otherwise, before they took me in and prepped me. And when they take you in and prep you, they just lay you in a bed that's got a little cutout for the back of your head, and it kind of makes it hard for you to move your head that far. And they put a cap on you, a gown, and they take literally a little piece of masking tape and put it across your forehead over the gown and tape you to the back. So you easily could break through it if you felt like you needed to get out of there. It would be easy to do that. And then they're talking you through this entire part. You have the surgeon. I had two assistants in there, and they take a large piece of fabric that's got adhesive on it, and they put it over your head, and they press it around the eye they're going to work on, and then they cut out the spot of your eye, and they open your eye up, and they press the adhesive down so it keeps your eye open all the time. You don't have to worry about holding your eye open like this, because the adhesive does that. And then they start to put drops in. They numb the eye. They fill the eye with a bit of a gel. So they inject into the eyeball some gel that holds the shape of the eye, because then when they put this, I'll tell you about the process real quickly, and you can find all kinds of stuff on the internet that are very helpful. So they do that, and at that point your eye really becomes, your vision becomes very, very blurred. You can still see out of the eye that's not covered, at least the first time, and the vision in the eye they're working on becomes extremely blurred, and you're not even really able to make out what's going on. You can see the surface of the back of your eye, oddly enough, and all the different patterns of the gel and stuff that go into your eye. And then basically the process is they will slice a little bit of a hole in the outside of the eye, and I'm sure there are some, micro tools. I never saw them. I couldn't make out what they were. If you were to take your finger, close your eye, and push on your eyeball just slightly, that's all you feel. Once they numb the eye, and once they put the gel in the eye, there's no pain at all. There's a couple times where you hear a little bit of a noise, like maybe a little mini dentist drill, but there's no pain. Like, you just don't feel anything other than slight pressure, like you would get if you pushed your finger on your eyeball. And the doctor tells you what's going on. At least my surgeon was very descriptive of the entire process, and the gal was, talking and getting tools from her assistants, and you can feel, this little bit of a pressure, and she'll tell you, now you're going to hear a noise. She just is very communicative throughout the entire procedure. And they put a little slit in the eyeball, and you can get this information. Like, I'm not telling you this definitively. Research it further for yourself. They slice a little hole, they go in, and they fish out with what I can only imagine is a micro, like, tweezer or something. They fish the natural lens out that is now not working as it should, and they put a artificial lens in. And the artificial lens has several different prescriptions on it. So you have a range vision, medium vision, and a close-up vision. When I left to go get my surgery, these are the glasses, and I'm going to put them in front of the lens. These are the glasses I wore, so you could see kind of what this is what I was wearing to read. As you can see, there's quite a bit of magnification there for me. And when I came back, it's funny that it doesn't really blur you so much, but you can see that there's quite a bit of magnification. These are what I was using to work at the computer. My actual glasses were not quite that strong, so I had a pair that I would put on when I was working, and then if the phone rang, I would take them off and put on my other pair, or if I went out to go to the kitchen or anything like that. I worked from home, so I was constantly changing glasses to be able to manage my day, and it was a pain in the butt, and that was part of the reason beyond my athletic endeavors to want to make this change. So then they put it in. Your eyeball heals very quickly. They close the incision. There's no stitches or anything. They just close it, and it starts to heal immediately. And the whole process takes 10-15 minutes tops. I think it was 10 minutes for the first eye and about 8 minutes for the second. They take off the adhesive. They tell you to hold your eyes shut, and it's different. It's weird. There's a little anxiety at that point, because when you open your eye, you really can't see, and it's because of the gel in the eyeball, and it's getting in the way of the way your eye works, and then they repeat and do the whole thing in the second eye. Now, I didn't take the Xanax. I didn't take the relaxing pill. I asked them if they had a stress ball that I could hold, so that when I felt anxiety, I could squeeze it. They got me 2 stress balls. I had one in each hand. Didn't really need them. I squeezed them a little bit, but I didn't really need them. I felt very comfortable through the entire process. Then afterwards, very quickly, they take you, after both eyes are done, they take you and they put you out in the waiting room. You sit inside the surgery waiting area for a couple of minutes. They take you out. I was worried about having depth perception problems. I was worried about not being able to see everything. And you can't see. I'll be honest with you. When you get up off the table, you can't see. Everything is extremely blurry. If you can imagine jumping into a chlorine pool and opening your eyes under chlorine, and when you come up, there's a bit of a film around everything, or the ocean. The salt water does it to me as well. And when I looked around, that's what I saw, but 10 times, 20 times worse. I could make out forms. I could make out bright lights. I could make out my dad, who was waiting for me outside because of the way he walks. I recognized that familiarity, And but that was it. You know, I knew where my car was parked, so I was able to walk to it. Depth perception wasn't a problem. I was able to touch several things in the car very easily, and so that assuaged my anxiety a little bit. And again, they sit you out there. They want you to wait 10 or 15 minutes in case there's any pain or anything comes up, as the painkiller and the numbing subsides. And they put some drops in for you. They give you. I got several bottles of little Visine type drops. This is Refresh Optive Fusion, which I can now read. I can read this from here, and it's clear. 2 days in, and before I wouldn't be able to read it out here, but I can read here. I can read it here. It's fantastic, the transformation that my eyes and my vision have had since the surgery. So moving on, the next part to this was, going home and driving home, and like I said, it's about an hour drive for me in from where I live, and my dad drove. And on the way out, it took about a half an hour for me to be able to really recognize any lettering or fonts on the road sign. And the first one I was able to actually read was a road sign that is about a half an hour from my house. And then from there on, by the minute almost, my vision started to improve. I went home and I rested and had a little bit of a nap. It was, there's anxiety in any type of surgery in your body, that clenching and the apprehension and all that stuff. It takes a lot of energy, and I was spent. So I had a bit of a nap. I got up and wanted to go have a beer. I deserved to have a beer after all that work. So I went to town with one of my friends, and when I went into town, it was still light, and had a beer. And by the time I came back, it was dark, and this freaked me out. This was not bad, but I was freaked out because as soon as the sun went down and it got dark, I started to see orbs around every little tiny bit of a light. And we're talking about, if this was the headlight right here, I would see an orb around it, like this, and then I would see a second orb around it. And they were big. And, the doctor said you can't drive at night, definitely right away. Give your eyes a little bit more time to heal and to flush out all that gel, and for the dilation that we, cause to be able to do the surgery. Make sure all that stuff is passed through your system before you try to drive at all, but especially at night. And this explained to me 100% why. It was kind of like when you get a little bit of water on your windshield, and you look at a headlight and you see it coming, and it just, the glare is big. Well, the orbing looked like, when I came up to an intersection, there was a green light on one side and a red light and a bunch of white lights, and it looked like fireworks going off. Just beautiful to look at. Little concerning, because you wonder, is this the way it's going to be like for the rest of my life? In the back of your head, maybe a little worry. And then, you see them come up and they move, and when they come up and you're driving towards a car and the headlights are coming at you, the orbs take up your entire field of vision. So at that point, you're kind of like, I'm worried about this. I hope that's not the way it is, because I'll never be able to drive at night if that's the case, because the orbs really, they just swallowed the entire field of vision. So I got home and I was looking around my house, and I turned on the baseball game. Not really much to watch, but to kind of listen to and keep an eye on. And the orbing was everywhere, like around the house. Every light, that type of orbing was there. So eventually I said, well, I'm going to go to sleep, and when I wake up, we'll test it out in the morning again. So I went to sleep. Didn't sleep well. The anxiety, the uncertainty of what kind of vision I was going to wake up to, was a concern for me, and it robbed me of sleep. I usually sleep extremely well. I run most days of the week, and I'm physically active, and I eat a very clean diet, so I don't have a lot of stuff robbing me from sleep. And but the anxiety level was as high as it gets for me, really. So that kept me up. I might have slept 3 hours through the night. Some of you might say that's great. 3 hours would be fantastic. I'm used to at least 6.5, 7 of pretty uninterrupted sleep. So I tried to go to bed 3 or 4 different times. I go through a routine that helps me, and I tried to go through this routine 3 or 4 times, and it just didn't take. So I had a very restless night. The next morning, I woke up, though, however, and I did get the best sleep between 6 and 8 in the morning. Usually I'm up at 6 for the day, but because of the lack of sleep, I decided not to get up at 6. I decided to try and give myself the rest that my body would need to heal. And when I got up at 8 o'clock, lo and behold, my vision was transformed. Not perfect, still a work in progress, and but I tested. I turned off the lights. The orbing was the night before. The orbs were big. They were taking up the whole field of vision. Now they were tiny. They were right around the light, and that was it. There was only one. So that change happened over the first night's rest. Um, Last night, the orbs were gone. I didn't see orbs last night, and that was one of the biggest downsides to this surgery, was that you may have orbs, or haloing they call it, from bright lights at night. I didn't see any of it um, at all. Like the orbing was either extremely tight and blended in with the light, or I just didn't see it. So that was a good development over day one. Um, I had to go in for a follow-up appointment the day after your surgery. So you're going to have the surgery on day one. You have a follow-up appointment the next day, and the optometrist will come in, and he will check your vision. You will read the cards. You will he'll check the pressure of the eyeball. He'll look at the lens placement on your eye and make sure everything is good, and he'll check the initial healing and the dissipation of the drops that dilate your eye. Yesterday my eyes were still dilated. They still had a fairly large pupil, so light was still very sensitive for me. I actually wore sunglasses most of the day yesterday. It's still slightly sensitive today, like the bright lights are still slightly bright for me today, but much, much better. And so day 3, well, let me finish day 2. I went through the testing. The doc basically said everything was perfect. The surgery went extremely well. The healing was, the process was extremely well into the healing process, and everything was moving along very nicely. And I shouldn't worry about the healing. And when I told him my experience with the orbs, and I told him how my sight had changed overnight, he said it's going to get even better. He said, slowly over the next month, my vision is going to improve, more quickly early on, but then day by day, my vision will get better and better and better over 3 or 4 weeks, which is terrific because, like right now, I mean, look at this. This little bottle right here, my camera can't even focus on it. It's about 6 inches from the camera right there. It took time to fix. Now, I can read that from here. Okay, I can make out these little tiny letters from here. I couldn't do that. Even with my glasses on, I wouldn't have been able to do that before. It's just, it's life-changing and transformative for me. Not that I read a lot of small print, but being able to do that when you're out shopping, I'm very conscious about what I buy and ingredients and stuff, so I'm always looking at ingredient labels, and I couldn't do it, even with my glasses on, unless there was a super bright light to contrast the print from the page. Now I'm going to be able to do that without my glasses at all. So last night I didn't go out. I was going to go for a walk with my dog, but it was rainy, so I decided to stay in. And I did watch a little bit of the baseball game last night on TV, and I watched a TV show, and no discomfort, no pain. There's no pain in my eyes. They're a little dry, and that was one thing that the optometrist told me. And I hope I'm using this the right profession, optometrist. He's kind of like the same guy that would check you for glasses and check the health of your eye and take photographs of the inside of your eye and that type of stuff. Maybe ophthalmologist, I'm not sure. But he told me, go. He said usually I tell people not to drive like for 5 days after the follow-up. He says, but you're coming along great. You can drive in 3 days. He said in an emergency, he said you can probably drive now, but just don't push it. But I can tell you that my vision is, I'm looking out the window, I can see the mid-range stuff, I'm looking through double pane glass, So that's throwing a little distortion. I can see further range stuff. I can see the tops of trees that are 100 feet away, and I can see, you know, the little pine needles that are on them. And, you know, I can look back in here and very instantly see my computer screen very clear. So that's terrific. Now, day 3, I woke up in the morning, and again, a huge advantage over yesterday's vision, a huge improvement over yesterday. And now it's 9:41 for me. I've been up for several hours. I have a routine in the morning I like to stick to. Haven't needed glasses for any of it. I wake up in the morning, and you know, it's only been, you know, almost 3 years I've been wearing glasses, but it's amazing the habit you form in 3 years. I woke up in the morning, turned my light on, and went to reach for my glasses, and realized, oh, that's right, I don't need them anymore. So, you know, just to go over real quick, I said I'd do this later on, earlier. The limiting parts that are going to remain if you do a surgery like this is what my surgeon said. I sense some of this now, is that in your field of vision at night, they mention the orbs, they mention the halos around bright lights, and around the contrast between the dark and the light is going to throw an orb at you. The lenses, the way they're done is you have your lens, and there's a prescription on the outside, there's a prescription in a middle range, and then right in the middle there's a third prescription. And your eye is able to look through the lens and catch the right spot on the lens to give you the focus on where you want to look. So that triple type of prescription, when a light looks, it's going to refract a little bit differently in each one of them, and it's going to create a halo. Now again, the second night I didn't notice it at all, and it was kind of a rainy night too, which would, I think, further impact the amount of haloing that would be there. Now, the other thing is that they say that there might be some imperfections around the outside of your field of vision, and you know that's because the lens has an ending point, and if your eye is trying to look out through the end and through the change in prescription, it might distort things out here a little bit. I noticed this slightly, ever so slightly right now, and if what the doc said yesterday was that my vision is going to continue to improve, I expect to dissipate even further. Now, you know, like I said, I'm a pretty healthy guy. I'm 40. I'll be 48 in a month and a half, and everybody's experience is going to vary. I spent the 2 weeks between my initial consult and my appointment searching for all of the horror stories I could find on YouTube, on message boards, for people that had this type of surgery. Okay, this is not a LASIK operation where they reshape your lens. I have a artificial lens. They take your lens out. So the downsides, those are the two big downsides. You know, you could have dry eyes, especially if you don't follow the drop regimen they give you after surgery. And there could be a dry and itching eye that would go on and on. I haven't noticed that either. My doctor said yesterday that my eye was a little dry, so he encouraged me to use these drops, you know, throughout the day to keep it moist. And he said that your body will adjust and should be able to moisten it on its own. But you know, that's the downside. The upside is no more glasses. The upside is you know, no more $1,000 every year as my eyes deteriorate. You know, so this surgery is going to pay for itself within a couple of years, and you know, just a really great experience. I have nothing negative 2 days in to share. I wanted to do this video as concisely as I could, but if you're researching LASIK intraocular lens replacement surgery with Lasik MD, not LASIK surgery, but intraocular lens replacement at Lasik MD, at least in the Halifax location, I can give 2 huge thumbs up for them. I highly recommend it to anybody that is self-conscious about glasses, that does work that makes putting glasses on and off difficult, that is involved in athletics and looking for a way to not have to wear glasses to participate in athletics. You know, I'm going to golf this weekend. Maybe I'll report back after my golf round this weekend. I'm not supposed to play hockey this weekend, but knowing me, I'm probably going to try because I'm an idiot that way. I had a knee replacement surgery and was playing hockey 3 weeks or 4 weeks after my knee replacement surgery. Not well, but I did. That worked out long term for me. But anyway, so my message to you is, if you're looking for assurance that this is a good experience, that it's painless, I can. My experience was zero pain, zero, like none. Discomfort, yes. Awkward feeling, yes. Something that you're not used to, a sensation you're not used to, yes, but no pain, none, at all. I can't stress that enough, none. The worst part of this entire surgery is by far the anticipation, the morning of, the night before, perhaps, if you're somebody that struggles with anxiety. I would tell you, self-medicate. You know, they told me to self-medicate. If I was a cannabis user, they said use it. You know, calm yourself down. Come in. You know, if you need to smoke a joint before you come in and calm yourself down. And they encourage that. Now, Canada's got a little bit different laws in some parts of the world, but I think the world is coming around to that as a form of medicine and as a form of you know, that's more accepted. But then, if you struggle, take the Xanax. You know, they say that Xanax is like having 2 glasses of wine, takes the edge off, helps you relax, and then within a couple hours after, you know, that effect wears off, and by then your vision is going to start to have come around. So they give you opportunity to get comfortable, to fight that anticipation. But that is by far the worst part of the surgery, was the anticipation as it led up to the day. I thought I was going to struggle for about 30 seconds as they were putting that over my head, the first one. And as they cut it out, I was like, I almost said stop. But I didn't. I'm glad I didn't. This has been a fantastic surgery for me, and a fantastic transformation already 3 days in. So if you're worried about it, just do it. If you have questions, you know, you can certainly comment below the video, and I'll do my best to answer them. But talk to folks at Lasik MD. Talk to the folks at whatever place it is that you're going to do the surgery. I recommend finding a surgeon that's done lots of these, to be the person that's going to work on you. Mine has done, you know, thousands of these already in her career, and she was absolutely terrific. Total thumbs up, and I can't think of her name off the top of my head. I don't have a memory recall for names anymore. Maybe they can do some type of surgery on my memory recall next. But anyway, again, thanks for watching. I know it's been a little longer than I expected it to be, but it's important for me, as a very satisfied patient, very satisfied customer, to share this information with you. Thumbs up, guys. Just do it. You will not regret it.